Yo, what's up guys, it's Drew here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to replace a 2010 through 2012 Ford Fusion axle, and this applies to the 2.5 liter models. So yeah, if you guys need a reference for this, I decided to make a little video because a lot of videos online, they're super long and not informative. So yeah, I have a 2010 Ford Fusion here, 2.5 liter, and I'll show you guys how to get it done. So these are all the tools you need. Start off, we have an impact wrench. You do not need this. It helps a lot, especially with taking off lug nuts. If you have a powerful one enough, you can take off your CV axle with it. We have the pry bar for the CV axle to pry it out of its clip. Hammer, use it with the CV axle to pull it out of its clip. Then we have these trim removal tools. If you don't have it, you can use a flat head screwdriver. It works just as well, but it's a little bit harder. You don't need an electric ratchet. I have one just because it makes everything a lot easier. You do need a ratchet. I recommend having a flex head. It helps a lot and it makes everything 10 times easier. For wrenches, you need an 18, a 15, and a 14 mil. You do not need these extensions, but they do help a lot. I have a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch. For sockets, you need a T30. You do not need adapters, but I have to use them. 10 millimeter socket, 14 millimeter socket, 15 millimeter socket, 17 millimeter socket, 19 for the lug nuts, 32 for the CV axle. Then we have a breaker bar. I recommend using this just to break the CV axle off, or the nut off. Helps a lot, makes it 10 times easier. I recommend getting a metal tray to put all of your bolts. So to get started off, I already broke this axle nut loose and I took off the wheel, but obviously you will have to do that. Start off with the axle nut. It's the 32 millimeter, and then the lug nuts are 19 millimeter. So that's the first. I recommend breaking the axle nut loose with one side jacked up and the other side on the ground, so you don't have to have anybody press the brake in or put a screwdriver or anything in, and you can do that by yourself. You'll see right here that I had already removed my plastic cover. It's just 6 clips. You use the trim removal. It's really easy to do. You can get all of them. If you don't have a trim removal tool, you can use a screwdriver or flathead. Works fine. It just may take a little bit longer. But yes, you do have to take off this trim cover, and I believe there are 6 clips that hold it into place. The second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this 10 millimeter right here. And I'm also gonna take off the speed sensor 10 millimeter. It is right there. You should be able to see it. Take these both off so they don't get hurt or anything, and I will also be disconnecting right there so they don't break and have any extra broken parts when you're finished with the job. If you guys are struggling with this little thing right here, I recommend using needle nose pliers. That really help to get them out. If it's rusted on there, they stick right into here, and this is for the ABS speed sensor wire. So the next thing we'll be disconnecting is the sway bar end link right here, and this strut bolt. It's a 14 millimeter, both are, but you will need a T30 and a 14 millimeter wrench to get this off, or it might just spin. Yeah, so let's get it done. If you have an aftermarket sway bar end link, it may be a 15 millimeter, but there's still a T30, so it still applies. But you may need a 15 millimeter as well as a 14 millimeter. And to get this sway bar end link off, you want to take the T30, put it on your ratchet, and then slide the 15 millimeter on wrench first. Slide that on, and then slide in the T30 and set your ratchet to the on position so you're tightening it. And then loosen the wrench, but hold down the ratchet. You may run into a problem where your sway bar end link does not want to come out and it's stuck inside of there. What you can do is jack from the bottom of the control arm, jack it up just a tiny bit, and it slides right out because it lets all the pressure off of it. So just like that. So now that we have these 2 bolts out at the top, of 14 millimeter, 15 or 14 millimeter for the sway bar end link, now we want to come over to the bottom. We can release this jack. We have a 15 millimeter right there and an 18 millimeter nut. And we're gonna take that off and get rid of this. Next, I'm gonna be taking out this 17 millimeter bolt. And if the control arm doesn't want to come out, what you can do is hit it with a hammer right on the knuckle like that, and it will come out. Also, make sure that you have your suspension jacked by a jack, or else it will fall and you will probably break something. So make sure that you have a jack under it so it doesn't fall, because it will fall when you remove it. As you can see, we got the control arm out. Once you hammer it out from the knuckle a little bit, it should fall right off. We got it supported at the bottom with this jack. Everything's good because we disconnected our line, so there's no strains. Next, what we want to do is get our pry bar and stick it right in between there. Take our hammer it out. Should be easy. If not, just keep on hammering. It will come out. Mine came out pretty easily, but you know, sometimes it takes longer. Wiggle it out. If you did everything like I said, you will be able to wiggle it out. You'll have enough room. You have all this space. And yeah, so now let's get started putting this old one back in, or new one back in. Also, guys, make sure you get a bucket, because a good amount of transmission fluid will spill out, especially on the driver's side. On the passenger side, it doesn't really spill out as much because there's another compartment to the CV axle, but on the driver's side, it spills out a lot. Here's our new axle, brand new, shiny and whatnot. Make sure that your axle fits and is the same exact size as the other one, because it'll save you a lot of problems. We also have some transmission fluid here, of course, because transmission fluid came out. So yeah, we should get this back in. So we have our new CV axle all installed. Make sure you can give it a little tug and it doesn't come out. Make sure that it is in there solid. It's a good fit. I put it in and then I just hand tighten the CV axle nut. So after getting your axle in, you want to jack up the knuckle or spindle just a little bit so you can line up your control arm nut, get it hand tightened, and then obviously tighten it up with ratchet or whatever you're using. But yeah, we got our new axle in. All you just got to do is get everything tightened up and put in our fork. So to get this fork back on, I slid it right over the CV axle. I just tightened up this bolt with my electric ratchet, not fully tightened yet, but now I just pushed up on, I have coilover, so it's a little bit easier for me. Pushed up on my spring to compress it, or my strut to compress the strut, and I was able to line up my sway bar end link with the spindle. So that's how I did it. Might not be as easy for you guys because you might not have coilovers or whatnot, but yeah. For these bottom bolts that connect the fork to the lower control arms, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna use my arms to push up and compress this strut enough so I can stick in the bolt and put it right through. It's very important that when you're tightening down your suspension that you have it jacked up from the bottom, and all your bolts, you make sure that you have it jacked up and supported so they're all torqued down properly. Once you get your axle nut all tightened up, and make sure that your axle nut is tight, because if it's not tight, you will have a very bad day. After you got your axle nut tight, you want to put a stake right in this little indent right here. Get a hammer, get your screwdriver, and just punch it in right there so it doesn't back off. Here's what it should look like. It's all in there. It will not back off. And it's all good to go. You should put copper anti-seize on this. I didn't. I don't really care because it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, if you want to make it easy for the next time, make sure you put anti-seize, copper anti-seize on there. And you should also clean up your hub whenever you get the chance. I'm obviously not going to be doing that, but yeah, make sure if this is one of the only times you work on your car, you should probably do it. And yeah, so we got everything tightened up. Make sure you tighten up your CV axle nut, your sway bar end link nut, your fork bolt, your upper control arm nut, your lower control arm to fork nut and bolt. Make sure they're all tight. Get your 6 clips and put your plastic trim back in. You should be good to go. Now all you got to do is tighten up the wheels and drop it on the ground. So once you're all done, making sure that your suspension is tight and that you tighten down your lug nuts and whatnot, you want to start up your car and make sure that your car is at operating temperature. Mine is not yet, but it will be about half on the oil gauge, the temperature gauge right there. You see, it'll have to be half. You want to come over to your engine bay, check your trans fluid, and adjust and make sure that it has enough. Refill and make sure that your car is at operating temperature first, to get an accurate measurement on how much transmission fluid is in the car, and you want to put it in neutral. And then obviously check the dipstick and fill as you need. Once you get your transmission fluid all checked and make sure that it's at the proper temperature while it's hot, make sure it's hot and it's in neutral, you should be all good to go. Yeah, if you guys need any more tips or anything else for this car, I work on it a lot. So yeah, you guys need anything, just let me know in the comment section. Yeah, I'm always working on this car, so if there's any part that you need like a tutorial on, I definitely got you with that. And yeah, subscribe and like for more.